If we can learn how to operate in a way that we are able to have additional tax write-offs and deductions, it can save us a tremendous amount of money over time. And that same can be said when we use our vehicles in a different way. Behind me in this dark bat cave that I call my garage,
To the bat cave!
are two vehicles. The question is, how do you and I deduct these vehicles for tax purposes? Being a CPA, I have a lot of clients who are thinking of starting a business, either full-time or part-time as a side hustle, or who are already in business. And one of the most common questions my clients ask me is, clients want to know, how do we deduct more of our expenses associated with our vehicle? Now, personally, I used to not be able to deduct any of the expenses associated with these two cars that I have here. On my right side, I have a gray RAV4. On my other side, I have a Toyota Corolla. Now, there are three primary ways to boost your vehicle deductions. One way is extremely easy and requires minimal record keeping, but the other way takes a bit more work, but you get more of a lucrative deduction. What we're going to talk about today requires a little bit of record keeping, and I know you guys probably hate record keeping as much as you despise your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, but in a future video I'm going to show you how to streamline that to make it a little bit easier for you. Let's start off with, when do people get to deduct their vehicle expenses? Why do some people get to deduct their vehicle cost and others do not? Well, just like how your parents favor your brother or sister over you, even though they swear they love you equally, the government likes to play favorites with how people go about making their living. If you are an employee and plan to stay an employee and don't have anything else going on, then unfortunately the vehicle deductions we're going to talk about in this video do not apply to you. When I told my friend Chipper about this, he was pissed.
The tax code is so unfair.
Well, Chipper, that's because the tax code is primarily designed to benefit business owners and investors, and not so much employees. But don't worry, I got some good news. Although you might not be able to fix your relationship with your parents in terms of who your parents actually favor, you can fix your relationship with the government. And how do you do that? Luckily, in order to take advantage of these vehicle deductions, you do not need to be a full-time business owner.
Really?
You can actually just be a part-time business owner or have a side hustle that requires you to use your vehicle and still take advantage of what we're going to talk about today.
Wait, so all I need is a side hustle? What if I mow lawns or start a cleaning business? Would that count?
Absolutely, as long as you're using that vehicle for business purposes. For tax year 2021, every mile you drove for business was essentially a 56 cents deduction. For tax year 2022, which is this year, for every mile you drive for business, you're going to get about 58.5 cents deduction per mile driven. Once again, I do have a lot of my clients ask me, hey, can I deduct my miles when I'm commuting to and from work? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Because if you're doing anything within the capacity or acting as an employee for someone, then those miles are not deductible. If, however, you were an independent contractor and you were driving to that client to serve them, then those miles would be deductible.
Wait, it can't be that easy. Isn't there something I need to track all this? Or, you know, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. I don't want to get audited.
To take advantage of this great deduction, the IRS wants us to track our miles. So ideally, we want to track the total amount of miles for the entire year. So we want to know what our odometer read at the beginning of the year and what it reads at the end of the year. And of those total miles, we want to know specifically how many of those total miles were for business. So not only are we tracking the miles, commuting miles versus business miles, but we will also want to have an idea of the days or the dates in which we drove, and even better, if you can have within a notebook or for me personally, I keep this in an Outlook calendar, notes about what that meeting was for. Because if you're ever selected for audit, then the IRS auditor is likely going to be looking at your records. Specifically, they look at miles and things like, and meals and things like that. And they want to be certain that you have documented what the trip was for and what the business purpose of that trip was. In my personal opinion, the standard mileage deduction is typically the least time consuming when it comes to record keeping. Just know that you can take the standard mileage deduction for your vehicle, of course, as long as you're using it for business. And secondly, you have not taken the actual expense method on that vehicle before, because that would disqualify you. And third, you have never taken accelerated depreciation deductions on that vehicle before. Let me leave you with this example to illustrate or demonstrate the power of this deduction. If in 2022, you drive 10,000 miles for business, whether it's for Uber or whether it's for another kind of business that you do, that 10,000 miles would get you a $5,850 deduction. And that deduction, let's just assume that your federal tax rate's around 25% or 20% and your state tax rate is around 5%. So you have a combined rate of about 25%, give or take. Well, on that dollar amount, that would be about just under $1,500 in net tax savings, which is just like having $1,500 extra in your wallet. Can't beat that. In the next video to this series on vehicle deductions, I'm going to show you how you can actually expense or write off what you paid for your car. That's right. So stay tuned for that and make sure you're subscribed for when that next video comes out. Once again, guys, I'm Mike and owner of Mike Kelly CPA. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Live life uncaged. Peace.